Hello everybody and welcome back to the Vinyl Vault. In today's episode, we will be choosing from our collections our 5 favorite colored vinyl. Obviously within the last couple of years, or I'd say the last decade or so, colored vinyl has been huge. Alright? Back in the day you could only get black vinyl, and that's lame. So I think their incentive to bring back vinyl in this digital world is cool colored discs. So we obviously are suckers for cool colored discs, and every time we go to record stores, we get cool colored discs, and we'll spend much more money on them if they are colored. Just our personal choice. And I think we should start. Alright, so I will start. My number 5 is Black Sabbath Paranoid Tour Live, 1970, I believe. And this is a blood red disc. Very Sabbath-like to be a blood red disc. I saw this, and I have seen this Paris show multiple times, just as a kid growing up on Black Sabbath. But when I saw it was a blood red disc, I knew I had to have it, so I bought it. Don't remember how much I paid for it, but it's definitely worth it. It's actually one of the most recent albums I bought, was this one. And if I had to pick the best songs off this concert, I would say NIB, Behind the Wall of Sleep, Paranoid, and Black Sabbath the Song. The greatest songs ever made, in my opinion.
And that Black Sabbath song is really good on that. That live
so
version
good.
is very good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's my number 5. Now we're going to head to your number 5.
Yeah. So my number 5 is Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. And this is a clear vinyl, which, I mean, that's just very, very cool. I believe, Tim, you got me this.
Heck yeah, I did.
So I love this album. This is one of my favorite Fleetwood Mac albums. And if I had to say my favorite song off this album would probably be The Chain, I Love Dreams. There's there's good ones on here. Go Your Own Way, Don't Stop. This is you gotta listen to this album. This is a great album.
The Chain, yes. Best song, in my opinion.
Yeah, that is my favorite song off this album for sure. But yeah, that's my number 5.
All right, back to me. Number 4. All right, number 4, I have Nirvana by Nirvana. This is just a compilation greatest hits album by Nirvana. And full disclaimer, like, these aren't our favorite albums. So the coolest looking aesthetic discs we have. Obviously, I'm gonna pick like In Utero to be my favorite Nirvana album, not the greatest hits. But I saw this one at Walmart, ironically, and it was a smoke-colored disc. So it's gray, translucent, and then have splotches of black in it, which I've never seen before. I was like, I have to have this. This is so cool. And you can't go wrong with the greatest hits album because it has all the best songs. Well, all the most popular songs. I wouldn't say the best. But if I had to pick, another perk of this album, it has a never before released Nirvana song, the last ever recorded one, confirmed by the members of Nirvana, and You Know You're Right. So I would have to say that's my personal favorite because it was never on vinyl until this came out, which is super cool. Then obviously songs like Been a Sun, Come As You Are, Heart-Shaped Box, and the Bowie cover, Man Who Sold the World. I would say those are my favorite on this super cool, translucent, smoke-colored disc. That'd be my number 4. What would your number 4 be?
Alright, my number 4 is Mass Seduction by St. Vincent. This is a bright pink vinyl, and this also was like some deluxe album, so this isn't this isn't what the album is going to look like.
Not the normal lame one, alright?
Yeah. But yeah, this one's really, really cool. I love the whole aesthetic of this album, and I think the pink disc just tied it all together.
It gives me like a bubblegum vibe.
Yes, I love it. And I would say my favorite song off this one would be, I like Hang On Me. There's a couple good ones on here. Yeah.
New York, Los Angeles, my 2 favorites. Also, this is sick because it comes in a different like plastic wrap where you can see all the goodies on the inside. It came with a poster which is on her wall currently.
Yes, and it has the album cover on it, and then on the other side it's like a cool picture of her. So
super cool.
It is really cool.
Stickers.
Yeah.
And a little booklet, I believe?
Yep, there's a booklet that has all the lyrics to the songs and just really cool art and photography that just is so cool. I love, just like I said, I love the aesthetic of this whole album. Just very vibrant, colorful.
Yeah. The thing about St. Vincent and Clark is she always has like these themes. She goes through phases of albums. So she has different aesthetics for each album.
Yep.
And I respect the packaging her and the record label put together for this. I just thought it was one of the most unique packagings of a vinyl record I've ever seen.
So that's my number 4.
So head on to my number 3. All right. And my number 3 is Icon by The Who. This also falling in that sort of compilation album, not really a studio album category. But I feel like with the colored vinyls, I feel like they always are released for a special occasion, like a special compilation being released. So that's why you can see a lot of compilation or greatest hits have the. I feel like the colored and the greatest hits sort of go together.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a compilation of a lot of the Who's earlier stuff, and this disc is like it's a cream colored, sort of like the color of the album here, and a lot of the earlier stuff. But man, every song on here is absolutely fantastic. My personal favorites would be Squeezebox, My Generation, Magic Bus, I Can See for Miles, and Any Way, Anyhow, Anywhere. If you haven't listened to The Who, please do. And I think this would be a great introductory album because there's a lot of the earlier stuff, a lot of their later stuff. It just has the best songs. And I think unlike a lot of greatest hits albums that just put the most popular, they genuinely put the best because they're not the most popular, but they are the best. So that's why I love this album so much. And the cream, I would say cream colored disc is so cool. To have that with one of my favorite bands, I think, is absolutely iconic. So that comes in at my number 3, The Who, Icon. Now, what would your number 3 be if someone had to ask you?
My number 3 is When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go by Billie Eilish. And this is a really cool, so it looks kind of clear, yellowy tinted, but it's actually glow in the dark, which is really cool. And if you put it on the record player in the dark, it is a vibe. I just gotta say that. I love it.
Was this intentional because it was meant to be listened to the dark because it's a dreary album? Maybe there's geniuses who made that.
Maybe. But yeah, this is just really, really cool. I love the way it looks. And I would say my favorite song off this album is You Should See Me in a Crown.
Yep.
That's probably my favorite song on this album for sure. Yeah. So that's my number 3.
We have the same favorite song on that album.
I know.
I like that. All right. So now I'm at number 2,
Yep.
I believe, right? Yeah, number 2. And this one is kind of unique. We have Dookie by Green Day, their debut album, 1994, I want to say. By far my favorite Green Day album. I can't say I'm the largest Green Day fan, but Dookie and American Idiot are really good albums. And I've been always wanting this album. I remember I really loved seeing music videos to this on MTV and stuff, and it sort of had a childhood attachment to Green Day through that. And this album cover reminds me of Where's Waldo?
Yeah. So
when I was little, I always thought this album was so cool. You know, I didn't know any songs off it yet because I thought there was Waldo hidden somewhere in here. So for some reason, I always really took to the Green Day Dookie album. And then one day I was online and an ad came up about how Barnes & Noble was having this crazy sale on a limited edition, one weekend only 2,000 copies. Get it and that's gone. First come, first serve. Brown disc, translucent disc of this album. Now, I was like, wow, I love Dookie. I love colored albums. I love Dookie. That sounds very wrong. I love Green Day's Dookie. I love colored discs. I love rare colored discs, one of 2,000. I was like, let me get my hands on it. It wasn't expensive at all. It was very average price. It was actually pretty cheap. And I get a cool little thing saying it's one of 2,000. So this sort of brown translucent disc is one of my favorite in my collection just because of how rare it is. Even though 2,000 it feels not that rare, but it's cool to be numbered like that. And my favorite songs, Welcome to Paradise, When I Come Around, obviously. Coming Clean is a really good song. Chump and Longview, I'd say, are my favorite songs on here. So yeah, that's my number 2, Green Day, Dookie. Now to your number 2.
Alright, so my number 2 is actually an EP, and it's by Phoebe Bridgers. It's called Copycat Killer. And basically it's just 4 songs from Punisher, but she did different instrumentation, more orchestra-oriented type of instrumentation, and it's really nice to listen to, actually. I enjoyed it. But this is a lime green. They said on the package, it said like mountain green or forest green or something, so I was expecting like a darker green. I opened it and it was blinding. Like, it was the brightest green vinyl I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And I love the cover of this as well, this album. And I would say the best song off this album would probably be Savior Complex. Just with the specific instrumentation from this album, or this EP, I would say Savior Complex. They're all good songs, but yeah. That's my number 2.
That's your number 2.
And she just came out with this, actually, in this 2020.
Yeah, when I first saw that, I thought it was like a full-length LP
No,
that she came out with. I was like, dang. When did this happen? But it's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Up-and-coming artist who will blow up soon. Mark my word. My number 1 is a 2013 Kanye West album titled Yeezus. This album had mixed reviews when it came out. It wasn't your typical Kanye West platinum selling record, even though it could have very well went platinum. But in my opinion, this is one of his greatest. I really like when artists take leaps and bounds to experiment new sound and sort of try and change their stigma and change their identity in the music world and just take risks, even if they fall flat on their face. I think the king of doing that is Kanye West. And I think that Yeezus is an exact representation of him just trying to find a new sound. And he even was on record saying that he was heavily influenced by one of my favorite bands, Death Grips, in making Yeezus. So I thought it would have been cool to get a Death Grips Kanye West collision on this record, but getting a hold of Death Grips is very hard to do. And another cool fact about this album, which is why it's at my number 1, is Kanye's record label and Kanye himself said there will be no physical copies made of Yeezus on vinyl. There were CD copies. You can find them anywhere. Back when Best Ways to sell CDs. But vinyl, they said there was no pressings of. So when I was at my local record shop and I saw this on the wall, I was like, what the heck? I go, I thought this didn't exist. And so I saw it for a decent price, and I was like, you know what? I'm never going to find Yeezus again on vinyl, so let me buy it. And then one thing I sort of noticed is what I think it's like a third-party pressing, because Kanye and his camp saying that this album wasn't going to come out on vinyl. And then just the lack of print on this. It literally looks like someone just threw the Google image search version of Yeezus on here. There's no record label condolences. There's no dates on there. It's very just broad, just saying, literally nothing. It's literally just the image of the disc. So I thought it was at first sketchy, but now I think it's cool. So I believe this was maybe a third-party make. And the album disc, I didn't know it was colored because, like I said, there was no advertising on this. There was nothing except this. And when I opened it, it was a super cool orange translucent vinyl that looked so cool. And it just made it like such a wild experience that day getting it. And it really just resonates with me as like my number 1 pick. My favorite song off here would have to be Blood on the Leaves. I think that song just hits hard in every way. It has highs, it has lows. But the album itself is fantastic. I highly recommend checking it out. And this translucent orange vinyl is maybe one of my favorites in my entire collection. So that is my number 1. Now, what is your number 1?
Alright, number 1 for me is Punisher by Phoebe Bridgers. And now this is very cool to me because it is a very rare disc, very rare vinyl, I should say.
Let them know.
It is called Sea Glass, and it is just so beautiful. I love looking at it. Sometimes I literally just take it out just to look at it because it's so beautiful. And I actually got this from Tim, and he had to order it from Germany.
Yeah, so it's a German pressing, which means it was exclusive to Germany. And I think there were other pressings. There was a UK pressing, and they all had like very rare amounts or rare quantities. And the German pressing and the sea glass was one of like 500, I believe. I want to say 500 was the one. And so, you pay a hefty penny, but for an album that's so sentimental to her, I thought she should have
this
it,
is my favorite Phoebe Bridgers album, so it meant a lot to me. And I was, leading up to him buying this for me, I was kind of contemplating on getting the black disc. I knew she was coming out with a maroon one, but she didn't release it because of COVID. There was all these things going on. So when he got me this, I was just like stunned. I mean, the sea glass is just so pretty. I love the way it looks.
To add to what she said about she wanted to get the normal, just retail black disc one, I'm glad she didn't for two reasons. One, because then I wouldn't be able to gift her this. It'd be weird. She already had it, and it just wouldn't make sense. And B, I've made that mistake way too many times. I've bought albums just because I love them dearly, and I see them in a record store, and I want them really bad. And then about like a couple months later, they'll come out, and they'll be on a super cool, limited edition colored disc, and get it while you can. And I'm like, well, I already have it, and I could buy it again on that colored disc, but at the same time, it's weird because I already own it. So she made the right choice in waiting for something like that to come along.
Because this is very, very cool.
Yeah, I love that one. It may be the coolest colored disc I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's why it's my number one.
And now I have an honorable mention, and you do too.
I have too. Yeah.
They didn't crack the top 5, but man, I thought they were so cool. I had to include them. Actually, I only have one, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But my one honorable mention is another greatest hits, The Doors' greatest hits. This one is a great introductory if you're into The Doors, or if you want to get into The Doors, I should say. This is a fantastic album. It has a lot of the hits, but it also has a lot of experimental songs that, to me, aren't hits, but are ones that are essential to The Doors' discography. And the disc color is a pearl white. Looks like piano keys. Looks like ivory keys. Sort of this color, piano white. And I thought there's something about the solid colored discs. The translucent ones are cool. You can see through them, hold on to the light, they look marvelous. But there's something about the solid color discs that almost hits harder for me. So with this one being a super cool, super white, solid colored disc, I had to include it in like an honorable mentions. Just missed the cut. But favorite songs off here, Not to Touch the Earth, Riders on the Storm, and I would say LA Woman are my favorite off of here. So that's my honorable mention. I know you have one.
Before I get to my honorable mentions, I forgot to mention my favorite song off Punisher, and I would say it's I Know the End. So
100%.
That's
song on there.
just, I had to add that
without question.
Now for my honorable mentions, I have 2. The first one being Bleach by Nirvana, and this is like a cool red and like navy blue marble type of vinyl. It's really, really cool. And this was actually one of the albums that he was talking about, that he got it with the black vinyl, and then this came out a couple weeks after he bought it.
Yep, I'm in pain right now.
And there were so many on the shelves too, so it was just, I could see the frustration. But yeah, this was one of those albums, but I got one for myself.
Pain.
So yeah, this was that one. And then I think my favorite song off this would be, there's good ones. A Love Buzz. There's some good ones. Floyd the Barber, About a Girl, Negative Creep. There's way too many good ones.
I like Negative Creep, I like Blue, and I like Swap Meet.
Swap Meet too, yeah. But yeah, that's that one. And then the second one I have is actually my dad's.
I love this album cover, by the way. It's sick.
It is Hemispheres by Rush. And what's cool about this one is that it was my dad. So this was from...
My Rush knowledge is very low.
Yeah, I don't listen to Rush.
Neil Peart fans, don't attack me for not liking Rush, all right? Okay. Don't come at me.
My dad likes Rush, and he was the reason why I started my collection in the first place, because it started with his collection, and this was in it. And the fact that this was also the first colored vinyl that I had in my collection. So even though I didn't listen to this, I have listened to it once, but I'm not like, a huge Rush follower, fan, whatever. But just thought it was essential in my collection. So
what I think's cool about it is that back then, decades ago, vinyl wasn't pressed in colored fashion a lot. I think it's really cool to have vintage albums on colored pressings because it's more common now. I feel like I said, it was an attempt to bring vinyl back and incentivize people to buy them, but you really didn't see them back then. So for Rush to put out a red vinyl, I thought was super cool. And then for you to have it is even cooler. But yeah, I think that's a very cool album. I want to get into Rush eventually. I just haven't. Just hasn't been my taste. Like I said, Neil Peart fans, do not come at me. Those are our top 5 colored vinyls. Thank you all for watching. Let us know in the comments what your music taste is. What colored vinyls you have that we would like to look into. I'd love to look them up. If you guys recommend cool ones, I would love to go out and find those for my personal collection. But yeah, leave a comment, hit subscribe, hit like, do all what you got to do. All right, and we will see you later.